school history, Coach Bill Yosca. As many of the coaches know in this room, it is a whole lot easier to coach really good players. At Towson, we didn't have really good players. We had mostly cross-country runners playing outfield. We had artists playing third base. We had probably some musicians catching, and some future doctors and lawyers coming out of the bullpen. Never in my playing or coaching career have I seen a coach do so much with so less. Very rarely did you see a Towson High School varsity player go on to star on a college team. Coach Yosca created a program and a culture that maximized the potential of every single player or coach in his program. But his legend was not made on the diamond. Yeah, he won a lot of games, and yes, that's why he's sitting here tonight. But to all of his players, all of his assistant coaches, anybody involved in the program, he was a mentor, he was a problem solver, a great listener and communicator, a motivator, a ball buster, and a Hall of Fame coach. Without further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce the original general, Coach Bill Yosca.
Yeah, Coach.
Got a lot of notes up here. Thank you very much, everybody. Congratulations to our preseason all-stars over there. And good evening, ladies, gentlemen, coaches, and ball players, and groundskeepers, and everybody else. I honestly don't know what I would have done with my life if it wasn't for the game of baseball. And you know, I mean, I've got stuff written down here in my pocket, and I really don't have to look any further than the table full of people that are here on my behalf this evening. I got family here, I've got friends here, I've got some former ball players here, and I also got some guys that were former ball players and also coaches with me for years, some of which I coached for in the long run. My start in baseball, and I had one waking memory. I grew up in Garden City South, Long Island, on the South Shore of Long Island. Late 50s was a great time to be growing up. Every school had baseball diamonds, churches, synagogues, they were everywhere. So if one was a mess with mud and rain, you jump on your bikes with everybody else, you found some other place to play. But it was one day, my dad was out working in the front of the house, and he took down these enormous old shutters from the windows in front of the house. So me and my older brother were out there, you know, trying to help him out, giving him a hard time. And he turned these things over, to put some 2x4 on them, and turned them back and leaned it against the side of the garage in the backyard. All of a sudden, we had this enormous, probably 4-foot by 6-foot board to throw baseballs at. He spray painted it green, got a can of white paint and a brush, and he drew a strike zone rectangle on it with a big white dot in the middle. He told us to stay away from it. He disappeared. He came back in 20 minutes. He went up to probably the boulevard, came back with about 5 sponge balls, and he threw them in the middle of the yard, and he said, try to hit the dot. And I remember one time he said, keep your eye on the dot. Don't take your eye off the dot. Well, I don't know what happened. It was probably a slow summer. All my buddies were away on vacation. I religiously took those balls every day, just throwing the ball at the dot. When Little League started, when I was 8 years old, my first Little League coach, Mr. Ignatius Marinello. There's a lot of Italians in there. Mr. Riggi. He said to me, okay, you come over here and you throw the ball to me. I nearly took his head off. And he said, we got a pitcher. So I was a pitcher. The other thing about it was, as I got older and I got better and I found out more about it, I came in contact with a lot of people. Most of the guys, the men on the block, everybody was home from World War II. It was a neighborhood where you knew the name of every person in every house, man, woman, and children. If they saw you throwing snowballs at trucks down, someone, Yosca, I'm gonna get you, you get home, I'll tell your old man. Yes, sir, no, sir. I mean, it was a very, not regimented, but everybody looked out for everybody else's kids. As time went on, in Little League, there was a fella who never had any kids. He suffered from hemophilia, Mr. Frank Anzalone. He and his wife never had any kids. And I always wound up being on his Little League teams. He was the most kind, understanding, gentle giant that I ever came in contact with. He coached me in summer stuff through I was 18 years old, and he always could find a way. If there was something bothering you, he'd talk to you. And that made a great impression on me. My grandmother lived with us my entire life, and we called her the Great Protector. She always protected my kid brother from my older brother and I beating the hell out of me. But she also taught us compassion and, having patience. And I had a good friend who was having some trouble and starting fights. And my grandmother said, Robert's parents are going through a divorce and he's angry. So, as I got older, I always had this thing in the back of my head about there's got to be some kind of reason why this guy is either in a good mood or not in such a good mood. So I learned to look, beyond things. And as I got into coaching years later, I just told Mike Williams the other night in talking that you're with them every day, and you can see when something's bothering them if you develop relationships with them and you get to know them, communicate with them and talk to them. I learned that from a couple of coaches in high school. Coach John Bauman, who when I graduated from post-college in '75 gave me my first coaching job. I coached junior high baseball for 2 years, and then I became the JV coach. So I had the same kids 3 years in a row, and I understood what consistency was and how you could develop a program. Getting out of New York, I came down. I worked in Baltimore City Schools as an educator for about 10 years, but I could never get into the baseball program. My wife, Kate, and I of 40 years, started having our family then, so I got out of coaching. I didn't get back into it until 1987 when I became the JV coach at Towson High School. There's a guy over here, Matt Bain, who was on my first team that I ever coached over there. He came back to us after college as an English teacher, and he was our head JV coach for 10 years, and then he was in and out as he moved on into school administration, helping us out all the way through. Mike Williams' parents were big helps to us in the Booster Club. You can't do it all by yourself. And I think that if there was some perhaps negative chatter about me by some of the other parents, which maybe there could be, I think that they were good in kind of calming the waters. I'm looking around again. Eric Kearney and Brad Eastham. Eric was a senior about the second or third year I think that I coached JV at Towson, and along with him and 8 kids that played JV for us for 2 or 3 years, our team under Coach Dave Wright went to the state semifinals and lost to eventual champion Frederick by a 5-4 score. Am I right about that, Eric? Allegheny. Yeah. But you could see it going. And Eric came back after hurting his arm pitching at Towson State, became my assistant coach, and we started rolling then. He did the infield, outfield thing. I did pitchers, catchers, hitters, and we just got rolling. But we had another guy, John Bruns, come in, and in my thoughts, as I was trying to write down all of the stuff that I'm not reading to you, I counted 15 guys that had played for us that had come back and helped us out in some capacity, usually as assistant coaches. So, that whole paying it forward idea. I look over here again too at my next door neighbors, Jeff and Carrie Hine. Jeff and I got involved together 1 year working with probably 11, 12-year-olds doing SYC, Southern York County travel ball. We were a C team, but as we got going, and I taught it the same way that we did everything at Towson High School, pick-off drills, everything else, because the kids could steal on the pitcher there. And the pitching drills that became big-time stuff for us. Everybody got better, everybody got into it. He made up the lineups, coached third base. I became the bench coach, and we roared. And we wound up winning all of the B tournaments. That same group of kids, years later, in finishing their first or second years of JV baseball at Susquehannock High School, became our junior legion team. We started a junior legion program. And that group of kids, and his son right here, Josh, his second son, went on at Susquehannock High School, and I believe that was the only group that ever made it to the state playoff pool from Susquehannock High School in Southern York County. A guy who was also a Susquehannock guy on the other side of my neighbor Jeff, Brad McCullough. Raise your hand, Brad. Played baseball at York College, a pitcher. He was the stud in our neighborhood. And when I got done coaching in Baltimore County, he was working up at Southeastern Schools, Pennsylvania. He gave me a call, we talked a little bit, and he brought me on, because as my wife said to me, I think you still need to be coaching, you know, you're retired, you're not coaching anymore, that's too much of a drawback. So I worked with him for a couple of years, and we turned that thing around fast. We won games. 1 year we picked off, I think, 16 guys. The next year was either one less or one more. I mean, there has to be state records, but I don't know that anybody keeps records in the state baseball in any state for pickoffs. Brad Eastham over there. Brad took over the Towson program after me, and he's the one that put me in here to get nominated for this prestigious award. Phil Simmons, I coached wrestling with him at Towson for years. You talk about a mentor for young men. Don't read his book about how to do it. He reaches out and he does a great job. As Coach before me said, you don't do it alone. You can't do it alone. It comes down to all of the people in your life that gave you all the tools to be able to manage a group of guys, to be patient with them, to put the pedal to the metal on them, and to make them, you know, as decent and honest as they can. Because if you play the game decently and honestly, it brings you into fulfillment as a human being. Years ago, I got the district coach of the year, and my folks were in Florida. My dad jumped on a plane and came up, and I wanted to address my old man when I got my award, but none of the fellas before me that got any district awards said anything. So I just got my award and stepped to the back. A year or so later, my groundskeeper got groundskeeper of the year, and everybody got up to talk. And I felt so bad. I thought I had my chance to, you know, recognize my old man, and I didn't open my mouth. But I'm lucky enough to have my 96-year-old mother here tonight. How about that? And my mom was a mom like every other mom in this room. She did the uniform, she did the laundry, she cooked the dinners, she made sure that you got something to eat when you got home. She took you to the practices. My dad worked in Manhattan, got home late. But my mom picked up all the pieces, and then when it was time for my 3 brothers and sisters to go to college, she went back to work and helped get us all through college. So I didn't get a chance to recognize my dad, but I'm very, very happy. I mean, you know, to be my age and still have your parents, one of your parents around. But I'd like to ask all of the moms in the room to stand up, please.
First.
Please stay. How about all the wives of coaches if you're not mamas? It's a great game, and everybody deserves a chance to play, and everybody deserves a chance to get out of it what I got out of it. Like I said, I don't know what I'd be doing if it wasn't for the day that my dad put together that pitch back. But I met a lot of great people in it. I've had a lot of great situations and things happen to me because of it. And hey, life is great. It goes on. And as far as the paying it forward thing goes, it's a great game. It's an even more of a wonderful life. Thank you very much for listening to me.
Coach.